Yo, YouTube, what's good with y'all, man? It's your boy, man, back at y'all with another video. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Y'all know the vibes, man. We gotta talk about Henry Ruggs, man. Um, I've never spoken about Henry Ruggs on this channel before, because before I got on YouTube, that's when he did the dumb shit that he did. I think that shit happened back in like 2021. So I wasn't even on YouTube at the time. But recently, Henry Ruggs, I believe he was released. Excuse me. I believe he had like a special release from prison for maybe a day or two. Can't necessarily remember how long for, but he had got released to talk to a rehabilitation prison program about the situation that had happened to him back in 2021 when he was driving under the influence of alcohol, and he was speeding in Las Vegas, and he took out a lady by the name of Tina Tentor and her dog. Um, Long story short, he crashed into them driving like 100 and some miles an hour in like a residential area, and he ran into them. Their car got caught on fire. Tina Tentor and her golden retriever dog were stuck in the vehicle, and they were burned alive. Very, very horrible death. Very, very terrible situation for everybody that was involved, including Henry Ruggs, who coming out of high school was a five-star recruit. Um, Also played basketball as well, but ultimately ended up falling in love with the sport of football because of I believe because of his best friend. I forget his best friend's name, but long story short, his friend he was going on a road trip, and it's crazy because Henry Ruggs was actually supposed to be in the car, and but he ended up being sick or something like that with the flu. So then his friend went and grabbed a couple of other buddies, and it was raining outside. This happened in Alabama. It was raining outside, and then uh, the car flipped over. They got into a really really bad accident. His friend died, and yeah, his friend passed away. Henry Ruggs was devastated. But after that happened, he focused more on football. He ended up going to Alabama, ended up getting drafted 12th overall by the Raiders, who, ironically enough, drafted Damon Arnett in that same draft with the 19th pick after they had just took Ruggs with the 12th pick. And Damon Arnett also got cut, raving guns and shit, threatening people on social media.
That shit 5 minutes away. Pull up, lame ass nigga. I swear to God, I will kill you, nigga. On everything I love, I will kill you, nigga. You talking crazy. Talking about that shit 5 minutes away.
The Raiders just have like a really, really bad luck when it comes to drafting players, man. Uh, we can go all the way back to Jamarcus Russell when they drafted him number one overall in the draft. So yeah, they have a history of drafting the wrong guy. Uh, they also did come out and admit that Damon Arnett had character concerns, even though he was a very, very talented player. He had a lot of character issues, especially at Ohio State. So he was a risky pick from the jump. Shit. But back to Henry Ruggs, man. If you guys heard his apology, man, I ain't necessarily really like the apology. Um, the way he was able to flip that apology and make it about him is kind of insane to me, man. Y'all go ahead, check this video out.
I don't want to be there anyway. I'm checked out anyway. So at that point, I leave and go continue to escape. Don't let the night in, because at this point, I think I'm happy. Away from all the stresses, away from all the pain, away from just not wanting to be. I never saw myself in that type of situation. And it eased me every day I wake up, because not only was I responsible for, a life being taken, but I also lost my best friend in a car accident. So now I'm living with not only the guilt of not driving him, but the guilt of hurting someone else with me behind the wheel. Every day I wake up, I got to think about that. Every time I see a car accident, I have to, that was once me.
Would you like to play football again?
When you have everything at your leisure and it's taken away from you, now you appreciate it. Now you want it back. So to answer that question, yes, I would love to.
Are you preparing to do that, and how can you do that?
All you can do is find yourself. And like I said, I'm in this newfound spiritual space where I find myself, and I'm confident in who I am and what I can do. So when the time comes, I'm sure I'll be ready.
Do you have any message for the victim's family? What would you say to them if they were here right now?
One, that I wish I can turn back the hands of time. I would love for them to meet the real Henry Ruggs and not the one that was escaping from something. I sincerely apologize for not only being a part of that situation, but the fact that my face is always in the news. So they have to constantly be reminded of the situation, be reminded of me, and see, those memories have to continue to rise because of all of the fame and notoriety that I have, which I never asked for. I never liked. I wish that they could meet the real Henry Ruggs and not one who was just running away from everything.
Take us.
So yeah, man, I'm not really a big fan of the apology. Honestly speaking, I think Henry Ruggs was supposed to do 3 to 10 years in jail. I think that's him getting off light because he is a football player, so he has money, he has good lawyers. So I'm pretty sure they were able to negotiate something with the courts or whatever the case may be, man. But I don't necessarily think that him going to jail for 3 to 10 years is enough justice for the crime that he committed. Especially considering the fact that Henry Ruggs, his own best friend, passed away in a car crash. So you think that he would be a little bit more self-aware when it comes to these types of situations, but obviously he was not. Um, Driving under the influence when you have all the resources, all the money in the world to where you could grab a Uber if you want. You could call somebody if you wanted to, man, but you made a terrible decision and it cost somebody their life, man. And I'm not gonna go easy on you just because you're a good football player, man, and you can catch a football, you can run fast and run routes. I don't give a fuck about any of that, man. Somebody's lost their life, somebody's child was killed, you know, brutally killed. Talking about being burned to death in a fucking car, trapped in a car, burned alive. You know, she was just minding her own business on the road that night. Somebody's child is not coming back home to them, you know. So we gotta get out of that mindset. We gotta get out of that NPC bot mindset to where, oh, because niggas can catch a football, because niggas can run routes, because you guys are fans of Henry Ruggs and all this extra shit that he's not due for criticism, because he definitely is, man, and the criticism is well deserved. The man made a terrible decision. And we're just gonna leave it like that. He made a terrible decision, man, and it cost somebody their life, And like I said, the apology I don't think was good enough. In my honest opinion, I don't think it was good enough apology. And I honestly feel like the way this situation might end up turning out, because I just looked at the Raiders' wide receiver depth, because I believe they asked Henry Ruggs during that interview process, would he be willing to re-sign with the Vegas Raiders? Would he play with the Raiders again? And he said, yeah. And obviously, he's going to say yes because let's be for real, man. Ain't no NFL teams really gonna be knocking on the door to get Henry Ruggs up in there. Like, let's be for real. The man, He's a fast wide receiver, yes, but you could find another guy like Henry Ruggs in the draft, man. There's guys coming out every year at wide receiver. Just this past draft, you got McMillan, you got Matthew Golden, you got guys like Jeremiah Smith coming out of Ohio State. So there's a lot of other options that teams can go with, man. It's just me personally, I don't think if I'm an NFL team or NFL GM, I wouldn't touch Henry Ruggs with a 6 foot pole. I wouldn't touch him at all. I just think that it sets a bad precedent in the NFL, man, because if you guys could remember a few years ago, you know, Ray Rice of the Baltimore Ravens, he was one of the best running backs that the Ravens have had in a while. He got into a little bit of some trouble. He got into a domestic violence case with his fiance at the time, and there was a video surfaced of him in the elevator beating up on his fiance and dragging her around and stuff like that. When the video came out, the fiance did say that she forgave Ray Rice and all that bullshit. But after that incident had happened, Ray Rice never touched the NFL field ever again after that. And don't get me wrong, we've seen guys like Michael Vick with the dog fighting situation, sat in jail for a little bit of time. He came back out and he was able to make something of himself with the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm not sitting here saying that guys don't deserve second chances, but there's a difference between a dog and a human being. And now in this situation, Henry Ruggs' situation, the man killed a dog and he killed a human being. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to figure out what type of precedent would the NFL be setting here if they allow Henry Ruggs to play football again. But going back to what I said about the wide receiver depth on the Raiders right now, they don't really have a top wide receiver. So if Henry Ruggs today were to get released, I think that, I'm not saying this but I think that the Raiders might consider signing him, which is, I don't really think it's a good idea, man. I really don't. I think that the NFL needs to set a standard here, and certain things, man, you just can't come back from. Like, I feel like Henry Ruggs getting 3 to 10 years in jail is enough leeway for him. If you ask me, I think he got off relatively easy, with the time that they gave him. Because let's be for real, bro. If you and I were to have did some shit like this, boy, we'd be sitting in jail for the rest of our lives. I'd be sitting in jail until my 2 front teeth fell out of my fucking mouth. Okay, so we got to stop putting these people on a pedestal just because they make a little bit more money than we do, man. They eat shit, piss, bleed, just like everybody else in this planet does, man. And they should not be relinquished of consequences, man. Like I said, I don't think 3 to 10 years was good enough, because you got to put yourself in the victim's shoes. You got to put yourself in the victim's family's shoes, man. If you get that phone call that your daughter was just driving around minding her business, and then some dumbass fucking football player that thought they were invincible ended up hitting them because he was driving drunk and going 100 and some miles an hour, and then he hit the car, and then the car got caught on fire, and your child dies, you would want that motherfucker to be sitting in jail for the rest of their life. For the rest of their life. And that's how it should be, man, because realistically speaking, man, this is a human being we're talking about here. Okay? Now, we just seen Shedeur Sanders get cited for driving 101 miles an hour in a 60. But like I said earlier, man, ain't nobody get killed. Okay? Like, don't get me wrong, it's bad to speed. It's not good to speed, man, but nobody was killed in an accident. Nobody got hurt. Nothing. Okay, so his circumstances are a lot different. But Henry Ruggs, man, if they allow this man to come back into the NFL, man, and the fans or anybody is not outraged about it, then we all know what type of agendas the NFL is pushing, man. You know what I mean? You got to set a standard, okay? Allowing Henry Ruggs back in the NFL after what he did is not setting a standard. And speaking of setting a standard, Damon Arnett just got signed again by the Houston Texans. You guys mean to tell me that there's a whole bunch of football players on this planet There's a whole bunch of football players on this planet. You mean to tell me you guys can't find anybody else that can cover a wide receiver, that can run routes, that can catch passes? You have to go to the guys that did some fucked up shit. Like, don't get me wrong, man. Henry Ruggs is a talented wide receiver. You know, Damon Arnett is but Henry Ruggs is a talented wide receiver. Okay, so his services would be good for any team that picks him up. But like I said, man, what's the standard? What precedent are you sending by allowing this man to play football again? If you're a GM, if you're an owner, how do you vouch for this guy? After making a horrible decision like that, how do you vouch for him? Like, don't get me wrong, Nick Saban did say that Ruggs, his whole time in Alabama, he was a standout player, he was a standout student. That's all good. But, man, the lack of awareness, man, is crazy to me. Especially considering the fact that you just had a friend that passed away in a car crash. Hey, man, it's their league, not mine. Shit. So they can do whatever the fuck they want to do. But me personally, man, I think it's a bad idea. They let Henry Ruggs back into the league. I think it's a bad idea, man. Somebody lost their life. Are we just not paying enough attention to that? Somebody lost their life, man. And it seems to me like these football players haven't seemed to learn their lesson. They haven't seemed to learn from anything, man. There's a lot of football players out here, man, that's getting in trouble driving. Jalen Carter got into some trouble driving, racing his friend, and his friend ended up crashing and losing his life. Who else? Nobody's Kyron Lacey just recently took the cops on a high-speed chase, was driving reckless, and cost somebody their life. You know, when you're giving these kids all of this money, man, you know what I mean, because they're so great at what they do. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Nobody would argue that there's anything wrong with that, but you need to make sure that they have the right people in their circle. I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, man. Does Kyron Lacey, all the money that he's getting at a young age, did he have the right people in his circle? And don't get me wrong, the man came from a 2-parent household, but aside from his parents, who's he hanging out with? Who's influencing this young man? Same thing with Henry Ruggs, man. You hanging around the wrong people. Henry Ruggs and his girlfriend out drinking. You mean to tell me his girlfriend can't give him no advice on not to drive drunk? Not to call a Uber? The man is making millions of dollars. He's in the NFL. I don't know, man. I feel like these people be having way too many yes men around them. That's how I be feeling sometimes. They have way too many yes men around them. And if you're an NFL team giving a young man this much money, this is definitely something that you need to be aware of. But, hey, man, y'all let me know what y'all think, man. Should the NFL give Henry Ruggs a second chance to play in the league, you know, even after everything that he's done? Me personally, I feel like the man's freedom is more of an award enough for him. But y'all let me know what y'all think, man. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Y'all know the vibes, man. And I'm out. Peace.